I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford. I'm here with Jenny Arruda Newman. Sorry, it's backwards. Okay, sorry. Jenny Newman-Arruda, who is a local business owner here in New Bedford. She has a shop downtown called TL6 the Gallery, and we're here to talk about her life, her business, and how business has been affected, how it's changed in New Bedford, and her thoughts on it. So Jenny, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Marcus.
Absolutely. Okay. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you from New Bedford?
No, originally I grew up in a town called Holliston. It's in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then when I graduated from high school, I was looking for jewelry metalsmithing programs, and there's not a lot of them, but UMass Dartmouth had one of the top jewelry metalsmithing programs.
Wow, that's surprising. That's
Yeah.
a really specific
Thing.
major.
Yeah, it is
for
a
sure.
very specific major,
Yeah.
and that's why there's not so many of them.
Sure.
I did get accepted to Maine College of Art, which at the time was the top jewelry metalsmithing program, but it was way out of my price range.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but I'm glad that I went to UMass Dartmouth, and that's how I came to this area.
Sure. So what made you want to get involved in that in the first place? What made you interested in smithing jewelry?
I know, I know, because a lot of high schools didn't have metals programs anymore.
Yeah.
Sadly, they're getting rid of more and more of arts programs, shops programs,
Yeah.
all of that. And my high school had a metals program, but by the time I was in the grade high enough to do it, they no longer had it because they were cutting back budget and stuff like that. But I took an adult ed course at the local art museum, and I just fell in love with it. I've always loved jewelry, and I love the idea of the permanence of metal. And I also love the idea of the purpose that certain jewelry gives people. You know, there's a history to jewelry. You know, you remember something because your grandmother gave it to you, or it's a religious metal, or it has meaning and symbolism and culture.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that I was looking for a program like that. It's so funny because I went from thinking that I was going to go into criminology.
Oh, wow. So different.
Yeah. So different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my beginning of my high school, I was looking into criminology, and I was the youngest person on the law team, and I started debate club, and then I took a hard turn and
Sure.
started taking art classes.
Well, you definitely haven't lost the qualities or the interest of being in criminology, for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I think if anything, I never stopped learning about that,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
and learning about, but that wasn't, you know, I had thought about being a police officer, and that wasn't going to work out because I found out when I was 17 that I had some health issues, and I was like, well, that doesn't mix, you know. So I also got into beading jewelry, and I had some mentors, my art teacher and one of my high school boyfriend's mothers did beaded jewelry, so she taught me a lot about it. And so by the time it was my senior year, my guidance counselor was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to do jewelry metalsmithing. Is there a degree in that? And yeah, there's degrees, 4-year degrees.
And so you did most of your learning in metalsmithing in college?
Yes.
Okay.
I only when I was still a high school student, I only was able to take that one class
Sure.
at the local art museum. And then I learned from, at UMass when I was going, the first year, you kind of had to take different electives and you had to get your gen eds out of the way,
Sure.
and then you could declare a major.
Okay.
And I knew from the get-go that I was going for jewelry metalsmithing, whereas a lot of people have never heard of it, so
Yeah.
they take the intro class and that's how they get into it. And I have to say that we had 2 professors, Susan Hamlet and Alan Burton Thompson, who I admire, and they were just amazing professors. And sadly, good for them, they've both retired, but it's very sad for the program that they're no longer there at the school.
Well, so are there good replacements for them? Or
Not I don't believe at this time that they have been replaced.
Okay.
And I'm actually very worried about the jewelry medal program
Of course.
disappearing altogether.
Wow.
Especially with the close of the Star Store. Because that's where, after your first year, your freshman year, you would start going to the Star Store, and that's where the medals program was, the hub of the medals program.
Interesting. Okay, because I know very little about the Star Store, so I'd love to learn more, but I want to ask right now, would you ever consider being the professor, the replacement at UMass Dartmouth to teach this? Do you feel like you're qualified to?
Well, first of all, you would have to go and I would have to go get my master's
I mean, besides the
degree.
degree, I guess.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
it's the piece of
besides the
paper always. But
Right,
as far as for
exactly.
skills and knowledge, do you feel like you would be able to teach like what you know?
I think I would. When I was going to college, you know, you have to make a thesis show, and one of the things that I specialized in by the time I was graduating was this process called repoussé and chasing, which is kind of a loss. I mean, there are still plenty of old school metalsmiths that are doing it, but right now and right at the time I graduated from college in 2002, and at that point, they were starting to use CAD CAM and make virtual jewelry, and our program was still doing hands-on and learning, you know, how to do everything by hand, and that's always been my interest. I don't really have any interest in designing or making on the computer and using the CAD CAM programs.
Yeah.
So I think that it would make, I know that the university, just from talking to some of the students and some of the professors there, I know that they've been, you know, going more towards computer work. And for me, it's the tactileness
Yeah,
and the love
absolutely.
of touching the metal and soldering and using the torches and things like that. So I think I could teach hands-on
Yeah.
for the repoussé and chasing. In my own studio at my shop.
Sure.
It's not set up like the Star Store studio where there was ventilation and there was specialized, you know, torches where we had bigger torches. So I think that I would definitely have to like steady myself and practice before I go ahead and teach other people.
Sure.
That. But that would be my, if I went into teaching, my specialty would be teaching a very hands-on,
Yeah.
using the hand tools, a jeweler's saw with the little tiny blade, and using the steel tools to texture the metal. And the other thing is, when I was going to college and doing my thesis show, my work was very much about storytelling and very much about, it wasn't just a wearable thing.
Sure.
It was both wearable but also conceptual.
Sure.
So I think in that vein, I would definitely be a good person to inspire
For sure.
students. And I actually, with my shop, I have mentored artists in sort of an internship way.
Okay.
They have come to the store and helped me at the shop, and then like they show me their work, and then I kind of, you know, give them suggestions or try to, you know, if they're into drawing and 2D design, I give them ideas of things to draw, or you know, assignments to hopefully bring their work to the next level.
So the interns that you've had before, I mean, even before that, the jewelry that you make, do you make it in shop?
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
And my business partner, Ariana Swink, she's also a jeweler. We met at UMass, in fact.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
we met when we were freshmen, going through just those intro classes. But we became friends once we got into the program. I would say we didn't really foster a best friendship until about our junior year.
Okay.
And then we just really bonded. And it's so funny because we're so different.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I'm doing a lot of hands-on stuff, and it's not that she designs on a computer, because she doesn't, but she's more into symmetry, and if she does an organic design, it's very clean lines. And at my core, I like things to look handmade. I like a hand finish, but also when you're trying to sell to the general public, you do have to make what they want to buy.
Sure.
So I would say, when I'm making jewelry for the shop, I have to take into account like themes and ideas that someone coming to a shop in New Bedford, like of course nautical themes, like Ari makes a whole line of nautical jewelry. And so you have to take that into account, because now you're making jewelry not just for your degree program and not just for yourself, but to try to entice the customer to come into the shop and to buy different things. But I think the fact that Ariana and I have very different ways of working, even our interpersonal skills are different.
Sure.
She's very mathematical and organized. I'm kind of a train of thought and rolling with it.
And just go, go, go kind of thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
go, go, go. And she's like, sit down, think about how to make the process. But the funny thing is, when we both sit down to our jewelry making benches, I call her the one-shot wonder, because if there's something that needs to be soldered and it's really delicate, she can get it. Me, on the other hand, I have to be really slow with my work.
Sure.
And she teases me and says I have to have a lot of stare time.
I've never heard of that. Okay, I know exactly what you mean though. Yeah,
I spend a lot of time like, how is the best way to solder this setting?
Yep,
like
yep,
I
yep.
really think about it, where in her mind she already has the idea and she puts it all together and she executes it quickly. I think she has a little bit more hand strength than I do.
Okay.
So that makes it easier. But it's great working with her because she's different. She likes to do a lot of stone setting. And so she makes a lot of what we would call the shiny and tiny and stone setting sort of jewelry.
Okay.
And I like to do a lot of chain making and hammering, like hammered textures.
Okay.
And I also, I love silver, but I also appreciate aluminum and copper and brass.
I really did not understand or realize the amount of work, but the amount of like hard work and metals and like smithing that goes into jewelry making, and like especially your store. I like really didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think everyone realizes that we actually make it there.
Yeah.
There are some processes that we do off-site because they're really messy. Like when you're polishing, if you're doing a high polish, it's very messy, so you wouldn't want to do it in the shop.
Yeah.
Because the shop's not just our studio, but we also show and house 20 different local artists, their work.
Oh, wow.
And we also have some retail lines that are art related or art adjacent. Plus, you have to have the retail, you have to have something for everyone. And I feel like that's what we try to do. We have, different price points so that everyone can buy a little bit of art or a treasure that they love forever. And so you kind of have to know all of what your audience is.
Yeah.
And I would say too, because when I tell people our shop is on William Street downtown, we're in the same building as No Problemo, plug for No Problemo. Everybody loves their tacos and burritos, which is a great location. We have a lovely window, which we always display all of the artwork in there and everything. But a lot of people will say to me, oh, I bet that you get a lot of activity from tourists. And I think that, first of all, that's not true. I don't get a lot of, my business is not actually from tourists.
Okay.
I have a customer base that are local New Bedford residents or live in the surrounding towns like Fairhaven, I'm sorry. Some from Fall River, but Fairhaven's like right over the bridge, so closer by. And I do some jewelry repair, but I don't love to do jewelry repair. I really would rather make a piece from start to finish.
Yeah.
Of course, we will always repair any jewelry that we made, of course,
Sure.
you
Okay,
know.
yeah. Why do you think that is? Why? Well, what do you think?
Oh, with the tour, yeah, we should get into that.
Like, what is the missing piece, or have you not realized it yet?
Oh, I think I have really realized it, and I've tried to talk to many of the organizations downtown that are supposed to either help bring tourism in but one of the things I will say, because I've now had my shop for almost 18 years.
Wow.
And before that, I sold out of the same location, but 2 other ladies owned it, and it was called White Knight Gallery.
Oh, interesting.
And it was more of a retail gallery and not a consignment artist-based gallery. And that's something Ari and I wanted to make sure and change, because we wanted to have local artists have an affordable way to show their work.
Sure.
And to work with other artists and other, work within the programs of AHA. And we've been an AHA partner, which means that you participate in AHA since it was White Knight Gallery, because we were selling our jewelry there, and we helped those 2 ladies work with AHA to try to get more people into the shop. I think one of the first things that I've learned over all of this time is that we should all try to have a home base, residence, customer base. Like, yes, tourism is great.
Yeah.
But tourism isn't always circulating,
Yeah.
Even if you go to the Cape, right now it's pretty dead on the Cape.
Yeah, there's seasons for tourism.
Exactly,
Yeah.
there are seasons for tourism. So I would say to any, my advice would be to any business that's starting out here, don't think that you're gonna make it off just tourism.
Yes, don't depend on the tourism. Get a local committed audience
Yes.
who will come year round. Yeah.
Definitely get a local base. Try to, work with other people on your block to advertise for each other, because we can all help each other and not be in competition with each other. We can all, give a shout out here and there. We can follow different businesses on Instagram and social media.
Yeah.
But definitely try to build your customer base from the residents that are here. And also, through the years, I have seen situations where we have these organizations that are supposed to, we do have an office of tourism right now. There was a period of time where the city didn't have an office of tourism.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting, because I believe every city has, or town, has an office of tourism.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm from a pretty small town,
Okay.
and they even have a historical society and sort of a person that, takes care of people that would be coming to visit.
Sure.
But New Bedford has so much rich history. We have
Yes.
hotels and bed and breakfasts and beautiful views.
Yeah.
Like, definitely things we could draw people into having tourism.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we do have an office of tourism again, because there was a while where we didn't.
Yeah.
And that definitely hurt business. I also feel like all of the branches need to work together, because we have AHA, we have D&B Inc., which is Downtown New Bedford Incorporated, and that is really supposed to be for the businesses downtown, to be like, they put on 2 major events, and they're also supposed to be sort of to help us businesses promote each other and the downtown area.
And they've been doing a lot of promoting. They need to shout you guys out, though.
Yes. They recently did do, I was very excited, they recently did do a little, video reel on Instagram, where they really did touch upon a lot of the businesses all in one little segment,
Okay.
which I thought was great.
Sure.
And they just put on they called it Instagram office hours, and it was like
Oh.
a little online tutorial.
Okay.
And Ariana and I took that because we have been noticing some glitches in Instagram, which that's the other thing is when social media first came out and we first started using it, it was easier.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and you could get followers, you could get customers
It was
easier.
a lot more organic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot more organic.
For sure.
And of course, as everything does, it's a machine. It needs more income, or it thinks it needs more income. And so now it's getting harder and harder
To reach people.
Yep, to reach people
No,
unless
absolutely.
you throw money at it.
Yeah.
Which you can. I mean, I have, used Facebook as advertising, and if you put you can do an ad for $5, $10, and I do recommend small businesses use that.
Yeah, I've done it too for myself.
Yeah, it works out really well.
Yeah.
So shout out to DMB Inc. for doing that Instagram office hours. I'm hoping they recorded it. It was like a Zoom thing.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that they'll make it available so everybody can watch it
Sure.
when they have time, and it just has some tips and tricks on how to use that. I definitely think that, of course, the COVID pandemic shutdown, it hurt so many of us, and it's still, people are like, oh, it's over. It is still negatively impacting both the residents and the businesses. I've seen a lot of businesses that opened and closed sort of around that,
Wow.
which is sad.
Yeah, we're definitely still in the aftermath of COVID.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And people are still getting sick,
Yeah.
Which is...
I mean, it's not going to go away at this point.
Exactly,
COVID's just
not
going to be
going
around.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of how much attention we're giving it and if we can make the cases go down in general. But
Yeah.
it's still going to be here.
Yeah, and I think that some of the city lawmakers think that we're kind of post-pandemic, meaning that we've all recovered, and like the EDC offered a loan grant money right after the shutdown, and that helped, but we're still not seeing the numbers back in our stores.
Sure.
And I do know some of the reasons for that. One of the big reasons for downtown, at least, is the parking situation. They increased the parking tickets. I think it was right after everything opened back up during the pandemic. The ticket that you would get if you overstayed at the meter used to be $10. Now they've upped it to $20.
Wow.
And that makes a huge difference.
Okay.
If someone fears they're going to get a ticket, they're not going to spend as much time downtown.
Yeah.
And I did try to talk to city council about that. I got a petition and everything else, and they said, oh, well, there was a parking study done, and that's what they told us to do. And my point was, well, that parking study was done back in 2017. And now we've gone through a pandemic, and we need to get some recovery money. We need to bring customers in, make them feel welcome, make them feel comfortable.
Decrease barriers to access.
Thank you.
Yes.
That is like the best way to say it.
Absolutely.
We need to, and that's what the city needs to do to help businesses like mine
Absolutely.
keep going and keep thriving. There are ways that we can do that, and there are ways that we can all work together, and I would love it to see more combined effort to work together.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about the Star Store and the importance of it, and we're touching on it a little bit, but I believe, and I know, that when the Star Store closed, it hurt a lot of our businesses downtown. First there was COVID, and then we opened back up. Then there was the parking situation, and I noticed a decrease in people coming into my shop. And then there was the Star Store shut down, and everybody that was right on Union Street across, there's D Soups, and there's Calico, and there's Shimmer, and all of those shops there. Obviously, they've seen a decrease in what I would call street traffic, people walking.
Yeah.
And we need pedestrians.
Yes, of course.
Because if you're not walking, if you don't know about the shops that are there.
You're just going to be driving by.
Yeah, you drive by, you don't necessarily go in and
Yeah.
look at all the wonderful things that we have to offer. So that was another, definitely noticed a decrease. Another thing is that the jewelry program, a lot of the students there knew Ari and I had been graduates there, and sometimes like they'd have a stone emergency, like they were trying to set a stone and it would break, and some of them knew they could come to our shop and like say, do you have anything? And I would sell them a stone.
Sure.
Because otherwise they would have to, call a jewelry supply company, wait for it to come in,
Wow.
or pay so much money for, it's like $14 for not same day shipping, but next day shipping
Sure.
and all that. So these are different ways that the Star Store, really was within the community, and we were all sort of working together. It's never perfect, but I think that's what we need to strive to do. And I think COVID really disconnected us, and I think we need to work on rebuilding. Unfortunately, I don't think that the Star Store will open back up again. From everything that I've heard, I've listened to NPR, I've listened to local folks talk about it, I've been keeping my eye on it. And Ari and I, they had a rally the day that it was finally shut down, and it was heartbreaking. I was one of the students that was the first class to graduate from the Star Store. I started my degree program over in the old Purchase Street building,
Sure.
or as some people would call it, the SMU building. And then I finished my degree the year that the Star Store opened.
Okay.
And it was so nice to have new studios. I mean, I liked the old building because, like, I like old things.
Yeah, the memories.
The memories and stuff, yeah. But the new building was great. And we were just like really enthusiastic that this was gonna really incorporate the students even more into the downtown area, and I really do think it did. And I do think the students loved coming downtown, and they liked going to the local shops. And it was also nice too, because when I was at the Purchase Street building, there were barely any places to get a cup of coffee or a sandwich.
Sure.
And back then we didn't have, delivery or anything like that. So if you wanted to get a sandwich and you didn't have a car, you would have to, walk all the way down to Giamo's, or you had to walk to the Lebanese kitchen. Whereas at the Star Store, you could just walk right out and there's D Soups, there's Brick, so it was good partnership.
Yeah.
And it also allowed the students to be a part of AHA, which is also another great thing,
Absolutely.
since they're an art program and AHA is an arts program. So yeah, there were many good things about the Star Store being downtown in the community, and sadly, I think that is lost. For as far as I know, it's lost to us indefinitely. I haven't heard any real inklings that it will come back, which is sad. But it was when they worked on that building and all of the professors gave their ideas on how to make it a great building, there was so much planning that went into it that it wouldn't be like, they gave the students, they rented that Bed Bath & Beyond. That wasn't anywhere near what it needed to be.
Yeah.
We're talking about ventilation and heating and cooling and studios and studio furniture and, the love and the care of the design that the professors put into it. Knowing what kind of closet space you would need for your classroom supplies. And all of that work went into developing that building. And they tore out everything, so there is really no bringing it back unless they got a huge sum of money.
And so we're wrapping up now. So this has been an amazing part one. Watch part two for where we finish this interview. And I really want to talk more about, for those who don't know, what exactly the Star Store was and why it got shut down. I'd love to ask you about that. I'd love to ask you about how you and Ariana did start the business and what were the issues with that. And then also, are you excited about the commuter rail, and do you have any plans for introducing your shop to the incoming tourists? And so catch us in part two, where you'll hear more from Jenny about these topics. Thank you so much, and catch you next time.